For those who are living, if you have to drive, you better relax and unwind a bit, otherwise you may have to be in for a surprise. Because after 2 weeks here and your concentration is present, you go out there, you may find the world moving very fast and your reaction may be slow. The car is coming towards seeing, turning too slow. If you're not driving, you're not so bad. You may just miss the train. So today we can make the talk a bit short and sweet because I'm a little bit tired. We continue where we left off yesterday and we'll end it abruptly because we have dealt with the 4 aggregates. So now we talk about the 5th aggregate, consciousness, which we have dealt with to some extent when you talk about the mindfulness of foundation of mindfulness of consciousness. So basically it's the same thing, but here you're talking about whole mass of consciousness, because the consciousness moves very fast. One type of consciousness moves very fast, one after another. So you tend to see not just one, but all processes. For example, when you see something, what do you see? You see what? You see Francesco. The moment you see him, there are a lot of thought processes that pass. The first is when you see there's an eye object and the process already gone through many thought moments. At that moment you just see the color, shape and all those hasn't arisen yet. So when it is passed on to from the sense door to the mind door, in the mind door the object turns around and around many times. And from there you have different thought processes that form the shape, form the form, and giving it names and giving it ideas. Finally you see Francesco. And so it's like, you're creating somebody. So you start drawing, After that, except that it's not 2-dimensional, it's 3-dimensional. And after that you add other ideas to it, more than the present. Because when you see San Francesco, then by the time you have an idea of this bodily form, then you say, who's this? This is Francesco. I know Francesco. Since he was very young, he was terrible. Also, something like that? Something like that. Adesso, and so that's why the text compares the consciousness as a magician. But this Pali word Maya, Mayupama, like Maya, have been translated different ways. For example, one way they translate is consciousness is like a ghost. Some they translate consciousness is like an illusion. Well, it can be interpreted in that way if you want to. But in Mahasi, he interpreted it as the conjurer's trick, like a magician's trick. It's true, you see all the consciousness coming together and mixing it, playing with it, and then you create Francesco. There's a Cantonese Chinese saying, from nothing you create hands and legs. Create from nothing hands and legs. It refers to people very good in telling lies. For example, you lost something. Oh yes, I lost something. Actually, I saw Piero came to my room. I took something out, but actually he didn't. So you create a story. So, who are the best creators of these characters? Novelists. I don't know what to think about this. Once a meditation teacher, well-known meditation, say who. One of the worst professions for a meditator to take is a novelist. So there was a novelist in the retreat and she felt very bad. I think there's something worse than that. I cannot say. There may be somebody with that profession. On the other hand, if you do it mindfully, it can be actually very good. For example, a novelist creates a lot of characters. When you see how your mind creates personalities, then you know you're actually creating your own personality. And what you cannot see is how the thought processes is made up of so many consciousness. Generally, they all finally will lead up to the 3 universal characteristics and principally anatta. So for the moment we leave aside the five aggregates. So you can see that when we talk about five aggregates, and mindfulness of Dhammanupassana is more detailed. And it goes into individual mental states and phenomena and see their conditioning before it gets into the three universal characteristics. But because this is much clearer, the conditioning within this phenomena, then when you come to the next step of experiencing the characteristics, it'll be much clearer. So now we go to the next topic of Dhammanupassana, the Salayatana, the six sense bases. So the first thing, what are the six sense bases? Eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, mind base. Is there more than that? Is there more than that? Something more than the six? Mine is already six. It goes on. In one of the suttas, Buddha said, the suttas describe where the Buddha says about these six senses. Sutta is called all, to do. Because he says that these six senses are the all. He says that if anybody says there's something other than the six senses, he says he is lying. Isn't it enough? No? You want some more? It also says in what is the ocean? I is the ocean. I, not you. Okay. Ear is the ocean. Smell, taste, touch, and mind, they are all ocean. For example, the eye, from there you can see the ocean of eye objects. You see, Italia, so many oceans, so many things, so many people. And if you're not enough, you go to Austria, you see so many people, so many mountains. Not enough, you go, la la la. After all the whole world, it's still not enough, you take a spaceship. The scope of the eye object is very large. What do you want to see? You know, because very dearly. And you have to be an astronomer. So similarly, when you hear sounds, there's a whole range of sounds. Depending on the ear, some ears can hear more frequencies than others. Some animals can hear more than, like what? Can a dog hear more than you? So even the bats can hear more than you. So a lot of objects, smell, no? Taste, same thing. So many types of food. Petra Konakya, what's your favorite food? Ice cream is a universal food. Yeah, everybody likes it. When you take ice cream, you become a small child again. No so much troubles. But it is actually all reducible to four tastes: sour, sweet, bitter, and salty. So picante is not taste. Picante is sensitivity of the body. And there are some mixtures between them, the four main ones. When you put in the idea, then it becomes very different. But when you go to the mind, there's the biggest ocean of them all. But the thing is, they must come together before it happens. It means, for example, there must be eye base, the eye object, and the eye seeing consciousness. Any one of this missing, then the process does not arise. Here it gets a little bit tricky. Seeing consciousness, the consciousness that sees the eye object. The eye object, comes with the light. But the eye base, what is that? Is that something connected with it? Because when you talk of these thought processes, you're talking of Paramattha Dhamma, where reality is. When you talk of the flesh eye, it's got a form, it's got a shape, and so on. It's a composite thing, not a thing. That means it's a concept. What is the Paramattha Dhamma? Something abstract. The Visuddhimagga describes it as the four elements. That means it's rupa, materiality. But these four elements arises from karma. Certain elements, four elements arise through, not through karma. Certain elements arise through karma. And so this eye base is the four elements that arise through karma. And because it arises through karma, it has a specific quality of sensitivity. When there's a contact of this sensitivity with the eye object, it picks up something from there. But without the consciousness, you still don't see. At the point of contact, the seeing consciousness arises. Seeing consciousness is also a resultant of karma. So it is conditions coming together. So when it arises, then what happens next are the thought processes that follow it. Interesting point is when Mahasi mentioned this, he refers to the flesh eye, the solid eye, as proximate cause. That means there's something very close to that, but it never says what it is. Texts refer it to as a very clear materiality. It can take like a screen that can take on the eye object, and it seems it is possible to take that as a vipassana object. Kikoza. What is this eye base of mind if you don't know? What is important are the processes that follow it. What happens is, after seeing the mind, this whole process called the thought moment, 17 thought moments in terms of the sense, 5 sense bases. I think it's not right to use the word thought moment because it gives an idea of thinking. Better use consciousness moments. The Pali word is citta khana. Citta is consciousness. So the Abhidhamma goes into length of describing this process. Generally, there's a period of reception. Then after that, there is a response, a reaction. In between that, there's a moment of wise or unwise attention. That is called the determining consciousness. Take for example, you're sleeping and you wake up. Why? Because the alarm clock is ringing. You have alarm clock? Do you wake to alarm clocks? No. If anybody didn't bring an alarm clock, you awake automatically. Yeah? Somebody rings. So when the sound strikes your ear, you wake up. But if the hearing consciousness does not arise, you still wake up. You're probably still dreaming. Now when you listen to it, then you respond to it. If you're not mindful and you say, stupido, but you're mindful immediately, aware, hearing. Now, before you actually respond like that, the moment of hearing, almost immediately already there's a response. And this is a kind of reaction while the process is still at the sense door. And when it goes into the mind door, then the object goes into the mind door, and there's also a reaction. Still, you may not know what it is. Only after many times, then you begin to realize, this is the wake-up bell. Then you wake up. All this world is all mind door. Sometimes the word comes before the idea. For example, at first is the sound. Pino! Svelati! You hear the words now. But at the beginning, you only hear the word. You don't know what is Pino, because it's so sleepy. You wake up, Pino. Say, who is Pino? Then you wake up, I'm Pino. So the idea comes out. So all the while there is some degree of response. Every time it responds, performs some kind of coming. This is, in brief, give you an idea of all the thought processes. We won't go into the 17 because it's complicated. Of course, these thought processes can arise independent of the 5 senses. For example, when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, what do you dream about? Similiano, what do you dream about? Do you dream? What do you dream about?
Well, tonight I dreamt somebody who was entering my home and I was afraid.
It's all in the mind. But before you wake up, you may think it is real, but the different type of dreams, we won't go into that. Only just to take note, if you have a dream being repeated many times, very clearly, then be careful. the mind is trying to tell you something, or something beyond the mind is trying to tell you something. For example, before you die, the mind knows, no? You, Massimo, time to go. So if you repeat it many times, it may not be death, it may be something seriously wrong with you. For example, something is troubling you all the time when you sleep, it keeps telling you. These are mind door processes. It can happen also when you're not sleeping, no? For example, when you're daydreaming, you're lost in your thoughts. This occurs with people who are obsessive thinkers. For example, I had a friend, he's first class honors in mathematics. So when he has a problem, he will hold on to the problem, he won't let go of the problem until he solves it. Very strong determination, and often he gets what his answers. But it can be a bit dangerous because when it's always in the mind, you don't know what's happening also. It's almost like Zen, no? Zen is, you have this koan which seems to be a nonsensical question. Like for example, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Tell the master give you this question. Think about it, get the answer. Says, well, this is a rubbish question. No, there's an answer. So you think, you must think non-stop until something happens to your mind. It seems they think until they go into hysteria and to run away, but they don't let them run. Bring them, they tie them. They're at the point of breaking down or enlightenment. Well, maybe if you have the correct teacher and you have the correct student. Well, anyway, so you have this mind door. Objects can arise at the mind door. There are many reasons why causes for the arising of the mind object at the mind door. But we know that definitely there's a cause. There's conditioning. Things arise from the cause. And when the causes are not there, that thing passes away. So when the Venerable Asaji, one of the 5 ascetics, told this to Sariputta Moggallana, illumination, but not Arahant, only stream. After that, more practice, then they became Arahants. So, obviously you are not as intelligent as Sariputta Moggallana. Don't feel so bad. Those are very special people. But it occurs at the mind door. When you hear that, it's just a sound. But when you get the idea transferred to the mind, it's at the mind door. Now the interesting part is at the mind door, there's no determining consciousness. There's only the mind door adverting consciousness. So when the mind turns, it faces the object and the mental states arise simultaneously. All done at once. In the sense door, you have to go to the sense door and receive the object and determine. Because it has to go to the sense door. The mind door, direct. But the object varies. Some objects are developed more into more complicated concepts. Some objects come with the mind door. All the time there's some kind of reaction and response. So the idea is when you go to the 6 sense doors, which you will have to, then you make sure you're mindful that your response always wholesome. And when you practice Vipassana, you're aiming at the Paramattha Dhamma. So you have to eliminate the conceptual part of development. For example, it's a bird, tweet. Immediately when you hear tweet, you would think, what bird is that? See, when you ask this question, the idea of Uccello, the bird is already in the mind. How fast, that concept. Sometimes it may not be a bird, it only sounds with a bird. Sounds like a bird. It may be a mouse. It may be your neighbor. Where am I? What was I talking about? Stop it before the concepts arise. So in terms of seeing eye consciousness, you be careful not to develop into the shape and form. It's very difficult. Because I already see Francesco's face is round and so on, so fast. But you pay more attention to just the light and the colors. When you're used to directing it like that, when the person's vipassana is always in a deep level, he doesn't see the shape and form clearly. After a deep vipassana meditation, you open your eyes, you don't see things clearly. But you want to read something, then you have to see carefully the shape of the word. In the case of the hearing consciousness, they are the words. So if you're meditating or walking, you hear people speaking, they don't make sure the sound will reach your ears, but don't try to catch the words. But if you start listening to the words, it becomes a long story. Like my mother used to joke, because she's quite old and she's hard of hearing. But she says, if you talk about me, I'll know everything that you say. It's a joke. You just know the sound coming, good enough. But in the case of the smell, taste, and the touch, it is the idea of what is behind it. Somebody you smell something, I know this smell before, but the idea has not come what type of smell. The taste also same. You have a taste, usually what happens is you know what this taste is about. It's the taste of mango. Sometimes you may start thinking, this is a nice taste, it's a terrible taste. It's just not taste. There are different types of taste, but don't think of what taste is this. So similar with the touch, it's the idea behind it. It's something you're meditating and then strong sensation in the body. Mosquito! You look, no samsara. It's the idea. So that's why when you go deeper meditation, when you even feel pain, you don't know which part of the body is pain. You think it's the shoulder is pain. You think of the back is pain. When you wake up, there's no pain. Don't think of where or the part of the body. Don't think of the idea. If you can do this, then you keep the mind to the Paramattha Dhamma. In terms of the mind is of course the idea, because the concepts are all ideas. Or it may be a word that is formed up by the mind. So, but all those conceptual objects formed by the mind. But if you watch the mind and mental factors, then it's okay. Because even the ideas and all are formed by the mind and mental factors. So you bring it back to Paramattha Dhammas, then again you go to Vipassana. Okay, we stop here today.